Came from a broken home. I've seen so many people go. Learn to make it on my own. It's easier for me to be alone. So how are you? Keep cutting through. Claiming you're not like the other guys. And only if I could give you a chance. Show me that you mean it. We'll feel some type of way. Why do you keep chasing clouds? Better leave before I feel something. Before I go and change my mind.
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We are on to our third game of the 2021 LoL regular season. Boise State and 9 other schools in the Mountain West going to go at each other. The top 4 will make the playoffs, and the top 2 teams from the Mountain West will advance to the playoffs. I am Michael Fisher, going to be joined by Daniel Glovely Clock to call all of the action. Boise State, the defending champs, and the target on their back has been pretty large. The teams have come very close, Glovely, to knocking off Boise State. Both Wyoming and Hawaii, 2 teams we thought Boise State might roll, needing all 3 games. Do you expect another 3-game series here tonight between Boise State and San Diego State, or do you finally think Boise State gets the ball rolling and 2-0s the Aztecs?
It is definitely a question of mindset here. Boise State is going into this with a couple of wins as compared to their opponents, who are currently 1-1. So there might be a little bit of that overconfidence that sometimes we see when Boise State thinks that they have an easy win. But they really shouldn't be underestimating any of the teams in this tournament. Everyone has shown up and shown that they've definitely got something to prove, and we've seen some great strategies and serious abuse of some very powerful champions.
Yeah, I mean, it really is nice to see that the Mountain West, the rest of the Mountain West, the bottom echelon teams, at least coming into this tournament, teams like Wyoming and Hawaii and San Diego State, who in the fall didn't make a lot of noise in the LoL tournament, are definitely giving Boise State a run for their money. As we said, a little bit different in the fall. It was just one tournament, double elimination. The Broncos won that. Now in the spring, we'll have a 10-game regular season. Top 4 teams advance to the Mountain West playoffs, and the top 2 go to the LoL playoffs, where Boise State hopes to be once again. But yeah, I mean, a lot of teams have played really well, and I think it really comes down to, can the enemy jungler for San Diego State, can he mirror what eThug wants to do? Because we saw that against Hawaii. It was a really good job by Ivane only in the game 1 that Hawaii did win, outplaying eThug. Game 2 and 3, eThug took over. If that's going to happen again, I'll be very hard-pressed to see how San Diego State can win if eThug gets those 10, 11 kills and only has 2 or 3 deaths.
I mean, not just the fact that it's eThug, but also the fact that jungle is a very powerful role that has a lot of influence onto how much impact you have on the game. A good jungler can make or break your entire team. We've seen what happens when Boise State's jungler struggles, and we've seen what happens when he gets ahead. Even Riot's acknowledged the power behind the role, even though there's not a huge amount of players who are willing to go play it in solo queue.
Yeah, I mean, even in this, the jungle could be the most powerful lane in the game. It could be auto win if you picked a certain champion. It would still be the least fun because you just get spammed. Gank, please, gank, gank, gank. You're pushed at your tower. You know, I cannot help you. So it's definitely one of those roles in solo queue that feels limited, especially if you're playing with randoms. You can't always coordinate, but when you're in a coordinated environment like Boise State is, eThug can make the jungle shine. As you see here, the breakdown for LoL, 376 schools, 11 in the Mountain West, 10-game regular season round robin, top 4 advance, Mountain West winner, and I've been told the second-place team, much like in this fall, will make it to the playoffs. That was Boise State and Nevada in the fall. We'll see who it is going to be in the spring with the playoffs starting in early March. You did reference Glovely, Boise State sitting at 2-0, San Diego State sitting at 1-1 as we get a look across the regular season standings. Of course, some teams have played those 2 games. Some teams still trying to play that game. As we see, San Diego State has lost their first game of the year, 1-1 overall. And I'll be curious to see how the Aztecs can do here. Colorado State, we knew they were going to be the top of the Mountain West. They were a third-place team in the spring or in the fall. Nevada, probably other team to watch out for as we see here. We know the lineup for Boise State: Red Hots, eThug, Ascent, Goblin, and Dean, taking on Sen, Knee Picks, Chemo, Peter Lee, R-Pike, and Sight Glitch. And I think a lot of pressure is going to be on Chemo in that jungle. If he cannot match eThug, the rest of those lanes, especially that mid and bot for San Diego State, they're going to have a long, long night here tonight, Glovely.
There's definitely a lot of junglers that have a huge influence on the meta right now. We've seen Lilia, we've seen Graves, we've seen Gragas, we've seen Olaf. Dear Lord, what Olaf can do. And, of course, Hecarim. So definitely a lot of variety for these jungle picks to go through. I don't think you could be able to just take all of the really strong jungle picks out of that champion pool through your picks and bans phase. You really need to play in a way that either enables your jungler or protects your jungler long enough to enable your lanes.
Yeah, the jungler that you didn't even mention that eThug's been having so much success on is Kindred, who feels like a champion that's sort of akin to Rumble, who's always going to be banned away by Boise State. A few teams have made the mistake of letting Ascent play, and those that have felt the burn. it really feels bad to ban Kindred. That is not a Shyvana. I'm going to guess that is still a Seraphine. ProDraft still having some issues. So Boise State sticking consistent, first banning away Seraphine. We see the Renekton banned away once again. There's that Olaf. Renekton is the one that catches me off guard. I know Red Hots has played it. Boise State doesn't play through that top lane. That feels like a wasted ban. I do like the Galio, though. Boise State has flexed that all over the map, especially in their series against Hawaii.
With the Renekton, I think it's just a sign of we don't want to get bullied very early on. Renekton is excellent at that early game at pressuring opponents. That, to me, signals that we either are going to see something that Renekton would be a good counter pick into, or just a champion who doesn't want to get bullied in that early game.
There's that Urgot final ban away by Boise State, top laner for San Diego State. Been playing quite a lot of Urgot. I know Glovely said his ears perked up, his eyes got a little wider when he saw those 5 Garen games on his resume on OPGG, and I think it was 100% win rate as well. So maybe
I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Appearance.
You know, I missed the last one. I had to write a 5-page analysis on it when the game was over watching the VODs. That is going to be the Kindred picked up on the other side. So Hecarim versus Kindred is going to be your jungle matchup. Kindred may be taking a little longer to get the ball rolling, and definitely doesn't bring the same level of crowd control or mobility that Hecarim does, but the scaling on that champion is absolutely insane. We saw Kindred 3-shotting people the last time she got played.
Yeah, the Kraken Slayer just fits Kindred's kit so well, and we see the Gragas coming out for Boise State, which is someone who you mentioned as a potential jungle pick. I don't think that's going to be the case. We've also, I mean, he can flex really all over the place at this point. He's a great top lane tank. He's a great support. He can even play him mid if you really want to. I would bet that's probably on the top lane for that tank. And meanwhile, we see for the bot lane for San Diego State, there's a Lulu, and there's that Kai'Sa, probably one of the strongest AD carries right now, going to be pick banned in almost any single game you see at a high level.
Yeah, if you haven't picked it up yet on our previous games, you're going to see a lot of Kai'Sa and Jhin. Goblin actually going to pick up Ashe for their side, on the other hand. And that is a champion that Boise State really likes to play. It does still have the potential to go to the support role. I've even seen a few folks play Ashe mid. Most likely, though, going to go over to Goblin. We've seen him be absolutely destructive on that champion. Boise State bans away the Camille in that top lane.
Which is interesting to me because looking at the OPGG for San Diego State, you can definitely tell that the Aztecs top laner is a former support main. Last season, 147 games played on Blitzcrank. The season before, over 100 on Blitzcrank and Thresh as well. And we've seen Boise State use that Lulu as sort of a, you know what, let's put her in a lane that isn't support and just allow her in the team fights to be able to land those wild growths. So there is a decent chance to me that that is not actually a support Lulu and might be a top lane Lulu. We will have to see. There's a LeBlanc ban the way by Boise State, targeting down San Diego State's mid laner. Plays a lot of LeBlanc, also a lot of Seraphine, who Boise State always makes sure they get rid of. There's that Karma pick as well. So Dean drawing a couple of bans. We'll see what the Aztecs' last ban is going to be here. It's going to be the Zoe, which we haven't really seen Ascent play that much this season. He even brought out the Fizz, which is something that, you know, you rarely ever see at a high level. So anything's on the table here for Boise State in their last 2 picks, as well as San Diego State, because we don't 100% know where that Lulu is going.
And when it comes to the lanes that we have remaining, there is a lot of versatility in those lanes. It is going to be Shen for the top side for Red Hots, I believe. I mean, it could be going jungle, but considering that there's a Kindred on their team, almost certainly going into that top lane. Could technically be support, could be Gragas support. I'm honestly surprised that certain champions haven't been locked in.
Yeah, the Shen pick makes me think that maybe it is a Gragas support. I mean, we have not seen Boise State play Gragas, but we know he's very strong all over the map. Glovely, I mean, you've been here long enough, but, you know, I'll let the people at home know and just remind you, I think Ethug is actually allergic to tanks. I don't think he knows how to build armor or magic resist. So Shen probably would not work with his kit.
I mean, maybe if you build him as a tank, but I mean, what about some kind of bruiser-ish Shen or some kind of assassin Shen? He is a ninja, right?
Yeah.
Orianna going to be picked up on the other side, followed by the Set. Set, of course, very versatile champion, but this time support or top lane, I think he or Lulu could go either way.
Yeah, that is for me the biggest question for the San Diego State lineup is, I mean, it looks like on paper that would be an easy Lulu support and then a Set in the top lane. But like I said, San Diego State's top laner, a former support player. He's got some Lulu in his match history. And then there's that Victor. We've seen Ascent pull it out before with some pretty decent results. He's going to try and pull it out here once again. So top lane and support for both teams, Glovely, kind of up in the air. Set and Lulu, they can swap, so can Gragas and Shen.
Definitely. Although, in my opinion, I think the Lulu top in this scenario is really good. First of all, we see that the Aztecs really like to play a lot of very engaged type of champions. In our research, we found champions like Lulu like Leona and Thresh, and champions who want to go in to make plays. And to me, Set fills that role a lot better than a Lulu does. And like you said, former support moving up to that top lane, so Lulu fits the bill there as well. Certainly they have the advantage to swap that, but also the Lulu has a somewhat favorable matchup into the Shen. As long as you stay out of range of a taunt, you basically get to go free, constantly harassing the Shen through the minions, through the wave, at the cost of maybe having a little less pressure on the Shen when he starts teleporting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is going to be interesting to see how those top lanes develop and who is going to be up there. Because, yeah, I mean, we've seen Shen does kind of bully out champions like Set. Now, Set does have a little bit more of an easier time than some melees because he has the extra shield with the Haymaker. He has the slightly higher health regeneration on the passive. And the other thing that really stands out to me for San Diego State is this Hecarim pick wasn't something I was fully expecting. And Hecarim is not a meta champion. There's a ton of Graves in Chemo's match history, the jungler for San Diego State. Very strong pick. We usually see teams trying to target ban that away from Ethug. Now, Ethug has played a lot of Hecarim, especially last season. So that is a very interesting pick to me, as this is Boise State versus San Diego State. But let's find out, Glovely, real quick, how Boise State got to this 2-0 record. It was a very, very hard-fought match against the boys from Hawaii. The Warriors even taking game one. Let's take a look back to see how the Broncos moved to 2-0 with their series victories earlier this week against the University of Hawaii.
Tanky-ish. Jarvan kind of does go tanky-ish. If he doesn't end up going that tanky route, there's a lot of individuals who can kind of just be wiped from the floor as far as Boise State is concerned, because once curtain call is here, and it is curtains for another member of Boise State. Goblin is going to go down. Poppy trying to get out of there as quick as her little legs will carry her. Gonna sidestep the Q there, but the gold card finishes that one out. Krusty is unstoppable. Hextech Ultimatum continues to wreck here near the Baron, and that is jump in and look for the Jarvan here as Ethug continues to push everybody else out. The damage is coming in, but oh my goodness, I'm OP is going to continue to slaughter, and this is all Hawaii, all game, all day. The curtain call will spell an end to that. Just kidding. Final shot is only going to give him a double here. And now, just for Crystal Arrow is going to land. They have found the Janna here. Stopwatch is going to be used. A shutdown as two members go down. Ethug going to be finding the Graves here. Drake is still up and in fact resets. What an ultimate there from Red Hot. We told you to look for it, and from the Drake pit, it lands, and it does everything it needs to, and then some. Boise State with the near ace in series at one apiece.
Yeah, Boise State played this game exactly how they want. They got Goblin 4-0-10. They got Ethug to 9-3-4. He can 1v1 anyone he wants. Ascent's now on the board as well. Boise
Fantasy
State
points.
Farming those stats there. They're going to finish up the game, and we're heading to a game number 3.
Respite, and nothing is going to drop Ethug, as everything is going to be given to him, as it looks like Wukong looking to make a play for himself. A Justice Punch into the taunt is going to land. The shutdown going over to Ascent, and that could very well be devastating, if not the end of this game for the side of Blue. Top inhibitor is just going to be destroyed. Middle inhibitor is gone. Looking for something here as Ethug is just going to take off one member of the crew. Huge heroic entrance there. Knocks up a handful of members from the side of Hawaii. Congratulations, a triple kill. Give him the quad. The fantasy points are starting to stack here as far as this game is concerned. And it was game.
That's how Boise State moved to 2-0. It was a nail biter in game 1, Glovely. Then Boise State turned it on, and we'll see what happens here. Like I said, it's been 3-game series the whole time. Of course, Doc's Keys to the Game been guiding us the whole time through these couple of series in LoL. Understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, and play your game. It's all brought to you by Count, whose Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables a personalized customer experience from the 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. We want to stay safe online. Go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. As we get ready to hop into game number 1, Glovely, what are you expecting here in these early minutes from both these sides?
Looking at the teams, Early on, I expect that we're going to see a lot more gank opportunities coming out of that Hecarim rather than out of the Kindred. It's a lot harder for Kindred to be able to follow up on a gank. There is crowd control in all of her lanes to set up Ethug for it, but definitely something that's much harder to engage on and to push forward with.
Does look like the top lane matchup probably going to be the more standard version of it. We've got Shen versus the Set. We do have Gragas in the support role, not something we've seen Dean pull out so far this semester, but something that I'm sure he could play very well. I mean, heck, the man played Ahri in the very first game of LoL, so there's really anything he can do at this point. We do see the Lulu in the bot lane, definitely something that we probably weren't expecting, because as you mentioned, Psyche Glitch plays a lot of those engage, plays a lot of Thresh, plays a lot of Leona, both those on the table, and they pick Lulu early. To me, I think they're trying to do the other game plan we've seen work well against Boise State, which is bait Ethug in, pop the wild growth on Arpike, and then you can just kind of burn down Ethug, kind of using Boise State's aggression against them, as I guess what San Diego State's goal was with that Lulu pick.
Definitely, but looking at the side of Boise State, their composition is a bit more reserved. Yes, they do have the ability to engage very hard, especially once Ashe hits level 6, and they have the Gragas and the Shen as well. But they also have a lot of tools that sort of give them a measured aggression. Ashe, of course, very great at slowing opponents down to keep them in range. Gragas can use that ultimate defensively if he needs to and doesn't have to commit super hard with the body slam. Can alternatively use it to peel for his team. So a much more versatile lineup for the Boise State Broncos. I want to point out that Gragas in particular, I think it might have been used as a method of just keeping it out of the hands of the Aztecs. San Diego State could be using that ultimate to try and nullify the Lamb's respite.
That is very true. Gragas, one of those champions that does have a slightly better time against the Kindred. And I will be curious, with Goblin picking the Ashe, how Boise State wants to play it. Because a lot of times when he's on that Ashe, it sets up Dean to roam across the map, try and get a set to his power spike, with Ethug usually getting the kills on the gank. So I'll be curious how often Dean's truly in lane. And against the Lulu, Goblin doesn't have to be too worried. Hey, there's a flash blown by Psyche Glitch. Nice body slam there. Arpike's still relatively healthy. Goblin's got to be careful. He's already chugged through his health potion, so Boise State's early aggression nets them a flash. We'll be curious to see how quickly Ethug is down there to try and punish that Lulu.
Looks like a little bit of aggression there up in that top lane as well. It's going to be a tough time for Red Hots. Something that's usually a problem for anyone going up against Zed is that if you want to build health, he's going to take that off of you in percentages. Is using that taunt very well, though. It barely stays alive from the Haymaker, though. He might have to back soon, or we could be seeing a tower dive.
Well, here comes Ethug rotating up to the top side. He did walk over a ward, so they're going to try and hunt down Sen Nipik. He's going to get caught out. They're going to try and flash. There's the Haymaker. First blood is going to be drawn by the Set. Third shot's going to proc. No shield available. Ethug's got to be careful. One more attack. But here comes Chemo. He's going to flash away from him. Charges onto the ward. Gets the healing. Teleport is going to be used here by Red Hot to try and get back in. But a great rotation by Peter Lee. I mean, San Diego State's going to go 2 for 1 there. And an excellent play by Sen Nipik to be able to stall time and then be able to get his jungler and his mid laner up into that fight.
Yeah, great way to stall. Allows for that counter gank to go off. So overall, smart play by that top laner. Even though he did end up losing his life, he also picks up first blood in the long run. One stack is going to go over to that Kindred. So watch how that health damage is going to scale up.
Yeah, Red Hot was forced to use the teleport. Thought he could maybe get back in time. Not going to be the case. So now he will not have teleport. He will have Stand United relatively soon, as Ethug's going to get found out here by Arpike. Take a ton of damage. Forces out, looks like, the flash from him. Boise State able to just barely get away. Red Hot's going to land that taunt once again. Shen still doing decent. And they eat the Haymaker to the face. Conqueror's proc, and it's going to be a full disengage.
This is such a difficult matchup for the Shen because everything you know about Shen is, oh, I want to build health, I want to be tanky, I want to absorb as much damage. The more health you build playing into a set, he's dealing percent health damage with his Q, he's getting more damage, he's dealing true damage to you with his W. The more health you have, the more damage he's going to deal to your teammates when he picks you up and suplexes you into the enemy team. Great use of the taunt and the Spirit's Refuge there to keep himself relatively undamaged, but he's still taking the tip to that Haymaker pretty harshly.
Yeah, nice job by set to land the middle of the haymaker onto Red Hot's, doing that little bit of extra damage. You can see Red Hot's and Set even in health, but then the other thing we talked about is the extra health regen passive that Set does get. The lower health he has, the faster he regens it. So trades aren't always going to go in Red Hot's favor, and then of course you have the resource champion versus the resourceless champion. As Red Hot's got to be careful, going to throw down the anti-attack zone for now. You see Ethug's hanging around up there if they want to pull off another gank. Last time it did not go how they wanted. Ethug, here he comes. Doping's going to come out. Taunt is going to land. Set just a little too greedy. Nice flash there by Red Hot to barely survive the haymaker. I don't know if Set was typing in chat or what, but he went AFK for about 5 seconds, didn't move, and that's why he died.
Yeah, that was actually a great taunt from Red Hot. I think he just thought he was very confident. He thought he would be able to get the Shen. That flash at the last second is what ended up saving Red Hot's life and allowing Ethug to come in and get that last kill.
Yeah, he doesn't flash, the haymaker gets the kill, maybe Triumph procs, and things are a little bit more difficult, but you do see San Diego State not really this time in range for a counterattack. They have rotated down to that jungle. They will pick up the Infernal Drake there uncontested. Be curious to see if Boise State wants to make a rotation over to the Rift Herald when she does spawn, or if they want to try and keep camping up in this top lane where Ethug has picked up 2 kills.
There is the potential advantage of getting your top lane ahead so that he can use that Stand United to get down and help out the bottom side of the map. You might be willing to sacrifice early dragons in order to have that ability. And of course, bigger shields are great. And having that Shen be at a higher health level when he eventually joins the fight is definitely more optimal.
Yeah, and as long as he's not dying, if Ethug's getting a guaranteed kill every time he goes up there, that also will really help the Boise State strategies. Once that Kindred can get online, it's going to be even harder and harder for San Diego State. We saw in some of those replays against Hawaii, teams just go pop when you get that Kraken Slayer plus the 3rd stack of your passive. It really just kind of all synergizes together very nicely. So curious to see what Ethug wants to do. Of course, he still has to get his marks as well. You see it is over by that top side, so maybe he's going to make a rotation over and be able to punish that Set right after he picks up the Gromp for his mark. Usually Kindred marks are very contested across the map. You do not want to let a player, especially like Ethug, get free marks. That will just absolutely ruin you in the end.
Definitely has 2 marks on himself right now. Mid lane going pretty calm, pretty slow. A little bit low on health there on that Orianna. Is going to stay pretty well healthy. Orianna is a very safe champion. There's a reason why she's constantly picked in competitive play, regardless of what the meta looks like.
Yeah, plus with the Hecarim speeding in, going to have that ball delivery system for the Shockwave. The junglers are going to meet over this Mark Grump. Kimo going to try and run away. He's got Set rotating down. Now he's going to turn and fight on to Ethug. Their smite goes off there, Stand United. They're going to try and chase down this horse. He said knee picks is there. Ascent rotating down as well. Onslaught of Shadows comes out. Huge taunt going to land onto Hecarim. They'll trade 1 for 1. Ult comes out for Victor and it'll split the fight. So Boise State picks up 1. They lose 1 in the process as well. Set knee pick still incredibly low. Peter Lee low on mana. Set stole the blue buff. Orianna's not going to have any idea. Blast Cone over the wall is going to get her to safety for now. Ascent's going to flash over the wall. And if you're Boise State, probably should have done something about that Blast Cone, put a ward down, because otherwise that was a dead Orianna. The blue buff steal by Sen knee picks really would have cost her. The Boise State's going to have to settle for the Rift Herald. That should have probably been another kill.
That was also a flash over the wall, so an unfortunate resource there, burned by Ascent, not able to close the gap there onto Orianna. It does look like they're going to get the Rift Herald uncontested, though, without Hecarim being on the Rift to fight back. Teleport used in that mid lane just to get Orianna back into lane.
Yeah, they didn't even get the flash out from Orianna, so it would have been nice if Ethug had maybe waited that half a second until Orianna was no longer on top of the Blast Cone. Maybe he's able to pull it off, but still able to put a ton of pressure on. The panic coming out from San Diego State, also not landing the blue buff in the right position. Very interesting. You see Kimo is trying to rotate over to that top side. Rift Herald comes out, immediately going to charge down. Ethug trying to make use of that gold. We've seen a couple of Rift Heralds in these previous matches not get any value, so he'll just take care of that, make sure he gets that free gold.
And sometimes that's just the right option. It's great if you're able to set up your teammates for eliminations just to get that full tower. But sometimes just getting a carry jungler like the Kindred ahead, get as many items as possible, as quickly as possible, is the right decision. A little bit of a trade up here in the top lane, but he's able to dash his way out.
Boise State trying to clear all their wards. They do not know that there is a ward still in that top bush right under the Gromp, so they're going to have to be worried if a teleport is going to come out here from set in about a minute or so, as his is on cooldown as well as Peter Lee's. We're going to see a huge haymaker land onto Red Hot. Ethug once again waiting over in that top corner, probably trying to bait him into a sign of relief. There's the shockwave though onto his center. Here comes Chemo as well, going to charge him away. All used by Ascent, but there's not much he can do. Gravity Field Sun not going to land. San Diego State's jungler going to pick up his first kill of the game. Crystalline Arrow by Goblin going to miss. That'll bring out the emotes, and Boise State's going to be a little sad, just like Dean in that beat.
Yeah, it's okay though that Crystal Arrow has a much shorter cooldown than you might expect, especially as the game carries on, and depending on what he decides to build for this game, most likely going to be the Kraken Slayer as the fight breaks out.
The dash towards Goblin, Wild Growth going to be used as well. Dean got a great body slam. Teleport is going to be committed here by, it looks to be Ascent who's going to join the fight. They're going to get the flash away for both of them, but a huge body slam plus the ultimate to knock R-Pike right back into the fight. Gravity Well's going to cut him off. He's got no mana to go everywhere. It's a double kill for an Ascent, and that's why they played Gragas in the bot lane. A huge flash body slam, double stun from Dean, picks up 2 for Boise State.
Yeah, that great explosive cast puts him in perfect position. Gravity Well then is able to cut off any chance of escape. You're either trying to run away and getting caught in the Gravity Well, or you're forced to fight in an unfortunate position where you can't reach your tower and you're alone against 3, and that's going to give enough pressure to give Boise State their first dragon of the game.
They'll pick up a dragon. We see Sen Knee Picks trying to get that plate in the top lane. Can't quite get there. So he's not able to get that bonus gold. Should be able to do it relatively quickly though, as he just needs to push one more minion wave into Red Hot. He's usually been winning the trades. He does have the level advantage as well. Both top laners going to have teleport. Of course, Shen has to stand united, but nothing's going to come of it as there's not many objectives on the map right now.
And considering dragons, that Ocean Dragon was actually great for Boise State, especially in that top lane. Red Hot's on his own, as Shen doesn't have the regeneration necessary to match the set, but that Ocean Dragon is going to allow him to regenerate himself a little bit more, keep himself a little bit safer, and that means he'll be a little bit healthier for these upcoming Stand Uniteds. Speaking of those Stand Uniteds, the Cloud Dragon is the dragon of choice for this game. That means ultimate cooldown reduction. And for champions like Shen and like Kindred and like Ashe and like Gragas, ultimates are very, very important, and having them available as often as possible is a huge advantage. So both of these teams, I think, going to be very competitive over these upcoming dragons. Yeah,
Onslaught of Shadows, Shockwave, Command Shockwave, as well as the Wild Growth definitely would be also abilities on the side of San Diego State. Here comes a gank. They don't know that Ethug is there. Gravity Well's going to come down. Wild Growth's going to be forced out onto Peter Lee. Huge Ashe Arrow snipe. And it's a 2-for-1 for Boise State. Teleport is going to be committed here by Sen Knee Picks. Goblin, meanwhile, just farming. Ethug gonna bait him right into Dean. Body Slam's gonna knock him up. Here's the teleport from Red Hots. Can he get in range for the taunt? Huge haymaker's gonna land. Explosive cast knocks him aside. Showstopper's not gonna work. Boise State's gonna pick up 3. Now R-Pike and Goblin gonna duel down in the bot lane. No Crystalline Arrow available for Goblin. They're both incredibly low. Dash gonna be used. Flash away by Goblin, but the invisibility buys R-Pike just enough time for him to barely eke out that 1v1 and get some pressure back from San Diego State. Ethug's chasing down Chemo. Dean's chasing down R-Pike. Flash over the wall. Nice taunt's going to land. Boise State picks up the horse. Dean's going to land the BM Ignite. It's going to kick up a kill. Boise State with 5 across the map. They're only going to lose 2 in the process. It's a huge win for Boise State.
Definitely. Overall, a lot of pressure asserted on the map, multiple eliminations. A bit unfortunate in that bot lane that the Killer Instinct allowed Kaisa to stay alive. But on the other hand, we saw that Ashe Arrow was what allowed that mid lane fight to secure as many kills as they did. So resources well spent as far as I'm concerned, even if you did end up losing the fight.
You see that Boise State and San Diego State starting to finish their mythic items. 2 Kraken Slayers on the side of Boise State, especially important to watch out for if you're San Diego State on that Kindred, who's going to do a ton of damage. Red Hot's trying to bait in Sen Knee Picks. Showstopper, or Haymaker, excuse me, going to go out. Red Hot's trying to drag him back in. Eventually, Ethug's like, I'm tired of waiting. Let's tower dive this man. Lamb's Respite still available. Pings are coming out. There's a rotation up, but no one for San Diego State's within striking distance right now. But Boise State's going to play a little cautiously, and no one's going to go down. Ascent's going to go out for the gank in the bush. Unfortunately, not going to land as much damage on the Psyche Glitch as he wanted, so he'll disengage.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan was there specifically. Now he's going to get caught out. Plasma Storm comes out, though.
Ascent trying to get back to that tower. Going to take a ton of damage on the hit there from R-Pike, but able to get disengaged. Does get the wild growth out. Meanwhile, Boise State setting up something in this top side of the map. Looks like everyone's just going to walk away. Still looking for our first tower of the game. Bot lane tower for Boise State, relatively low if the Broncos can push into it, but right now doesn't look like anyone's too interested as the bot lane for Boise State hanging out in that mid lane.
Rift Herald is on the board, so that's definitely an objective to be looking for. To mention that Victor earlier, one thing I was concerned about is why are you having Victor trying to come out of the bush? He doesn't have as much burst as many mid lane champions. Crystalline Arrow comes out though.
Right onto that Orianna. Dean trying to get in range. Going to try and use something that gets the shockwave out. Still holding on. Just going to let Goblin pick up that one. He was waiting for the explosive cast, but that Orianna didn't have flash. There was really nowhere she could go, especially with the permanent Ash Low. So Boise State's bot lane rotates perfectly. They should be able to pick up first tower here. You see that they know where Hecarim is. Ethug's going to try and dual send knee picks here. Stand United going to come out. There's a showstopper. It's not even going to land. Kindred's going to pick up the kill. Don't know if they really needed to stand United, but Boise State will take it. They get first tower as well. And the Broncos start to push their advantage just a little bit here as we hit the 16-minute mark.
This is a 6-1 into Kindred now. Ethug definitely picking up on the aggression in this top lane, using it to snowball himself ahead. And that's going to be big for the side of Boise State.
It really, this is one of the things for Boise State that I think is so interesting is that they have players like Ascent and like Ethug who are really good at champions that make you feel really bad when you ban them. Rumble's already one who, he's good, he's never great. And Kindred's about to be another one as we see a Cloud Drake come out here. No one really in range for Boise State, so this should be a free drag. But now the Broncos want to go in and punish. Killer Instinct's going to bring R-Pike right to his death. Onslaught of Shadows used to get away from Ethug. And Boise State's going to send San Diego State running for the hills. They want to set something up in the rush, but Dean's going to ward that one out. The Broncos will trade Dragon for one, and I'm sure they're definitely okay with that.
Definitely, and they do now have control of this bottom side of the map. Or Boise State does. Unfortunately, not able to capitalize on it. Is going to try and go in, set here, taking a lot of damage, throws out the Haymaker. Now that his defensive options are down, he's forced to back away from the fight.
Still has that full health tower, no minion waves available either, so Boise State will just retreat. They have picked up the second Rift Herald as well. See when they want to drop that. Goblin right now just defending that ward. Boise State trying to maybe find a pick if someone for San Diego State wants to try and clear that ward. Right now they'll just set up a counter jungle. They will be seen out by the seed though. That's not going to matter. No one on that team for San Diego State right now can really do anything against Ethug in a 1v1, so he's free to do whatever he wants.
Very slow, very methodical push by Boise State right now. Just sort of keeping pressure in the lanes. They've sent Shen down to the bot lane so that they can make sure they've got pressure all across the map here. And it is this bottom side that I would start focusing on here, just because it gives you more coverage for the dragon fights that are going to happen later on. Dean going to throw out the barrel there just to make sure he defends his ward. And sometimes the ward wars happen, and ward wars vision, very important.
Yeah, wards win games way more often than flashy solo kills do. Boise State has San Diego State surrounded in the jungle. Here comes the kill squad. Psychic Glitch going to be the first target there. He's forced to flash away. It is not going to matter. Explosive Cast is going to miss, but Boise State still picks up one onto the Lulu. We'll see what they could do with that pressure. You've got Ascent still up in the top lane trying to defend a minion wave. Boise State doesn't want to lose a tower, but he does have to teleport if needed. Only problem for Boise State, they're getting picks. There's just no objective to punish San Diego State over.
Definitely. Even if you do manage to pick off a Lulu, the rest of the team is still strong enough and dangerous enough to fight you underneath these towers, which is why you have to kind of be slow and patient and just kind of grab whatever advantage you can. Boise State may not be gaining huge advantages, but they are getting little ones, and those little ones are starting to add up.
Summoner spells across the board are online for almost anyone. You just have a couple of flashes down for Ascent and Dean, and then no flash on Psychic Glitch. So the next fight very well could have everything in it. Baron spawning in 40 seconds. Boise State with that 8-1 Kindred probably in a pretty decent spot to try and burn it down. And I'm not sure San Diego State would willingly want to challenge them. We'll see what Boise State wants to do. Shockwave would have to be used to stop the Standing United or teleport. Probably not something that Peter Lee wants to have to waste just to stop a teleporting Shen.
I do think that emphasis on the objective is really important at this stage of the game. It's important for Boise State to be able to draw San Diego out and bait them into team fights, or otherwise get caught in a situation where a major objective gets taken like that Baron. But I also think it's important, pardon, as a fight breaks out in the bot lane, a lot of damage coming out of that Shen.
I still don't know how that's not a problem. That is so much damage for a champion who has so little damage on their kid. Arpite going to be forced to run away as Ethug thought he had something. Onslaught of Shadows going to come out. Nice dump away. Standing United will be used. Crystalline Arrow going to land onto the Kaisa in the back line. Body blocks come out. Huge double taunt. Explosive cast to separate the team. Send knee picks on the back line. Haymaker going to almost eliminate Goblin. There's the showstopper as well. He'll flash away, and Boise State's going to pick up one. Chemo now has to try and teleport away. There's the sent in on the back line. Polymorph is not going to matter. It's a double kill for Red Hot. Boise State missing one for the clean ace. They'll seize the tower, and the Broncos should be able to pick up Baron, or it looks like it's Baron. Don't even care about the inhibitor. What a fight for Boise State. And that's the problem with San Diego State's team, Glovely. They get all in, and then they're all separated.
Not just all in there, they were trying to get to that back line, trying to find Ethug, but there was so much protection, and he just keeps on hopping backwards behind the Gragas, behind the Shen, even behind the Ashe and the Victor, who are able to continuously peel for him. He doesn't need crowd control because his whole team is providing it for him.
Yeah, and this is something that plagued Hawaii a lot. It was a big reason why they lost Game 3 to the Broncos. A lot of players, especially this time it was send knee picks, are committing all of their resources onto trying to kill Goblin. We saw the showstopper come out to try and eliminate Ashe. We saw the Haymaker use for the big shield, and it did a ton of damage to Goblin. And yes, Goblin is a very good player and a very scary player in his own right when he is ahead. He's 1-1-7. Kindred is 9-1-5, and to my knowledge has not used Lamb's Respite this entire game. That is how much freedom Ethug has had. As we see the second dragon for San Diego State, going to be picked up here. Their third dragon, second Cloud Drake of the game. Red Hot's going to dash in, going to land a huge taunt. There is Ethug. Send knee pick going to be forced to try and save the rest of that shield. There's a big Haymaker showstopper. This time on to Ethug. Not going to matter in the slightest. Dean going to go over the wall. Does not have the explosive cast. There's Crystalline Arrow. Doesn't quite miss, a little wide of the goalpost there, and Boise State will just take one. But once again, great use of the objective pressure by San Diego State. Unfortunately, their top side is falling apart.
This is the classic 4-1-1, 4 members in one lane, 1 member in the other lane. You just put so much pressure on with the power of this split push, and with those Baron buff minions, even a mage can do some significant damage to these objectives. Looks like that inhibitor very close to falling, but ultimate comes through.
Onslaught of Shadows is used there, Ascent, perfect kite, and Command Shockwave is going to be used as well. Red Hot uses Stand United to try and keep Ascent alive. He'll pick up 1, make it 2. It's a double kill for him. Red Hot's got to run away. Wild Growth was committed to Arpike, but Boise State will take that trade any day of the week as the rest of the team sieging down the bot lane inhibitor. Nexus Turret 1 is going to fall. Nice flash into the body slam there. Explosive cast can be used as well. Haymaker's going to land, but it's not going to matter. Boise State picks up 1, flash away, can't get away from Kindred. It's a triple kill for Ethug, and it's game 1 to Boise State. The Broncos making quick work of San Diego State in just 23 minutes.
Overall, great play by these teams, but the scaling on this Kindred and the amount of peel between the Kindred and the members of the Aztecs, just too much.
The Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. Top plays that you'll see at the end of every broadcast are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuardGaming. Top plays usually feature a ton of Ethug and good measure Glovely. Huge reason why Boise State took down San Diego State in game number 1 is the play of Ethug on that Kindred. And the question becomes, how long are teams going to let him do this until Kindred falls into the Rumble category and is auto-banned every single time?
I mean, it's definitely something we've seen teams consider. Kindred has been banned against Boise State a total of 1 time, and it was on the back of Ethug absolutely going off on that champion. Honestly, Kindred, I thought we've played it in previous seasons, and I didn't think it was a very good pick. I didn't think Boise State played to it well, but they've really brought out the potential of this champion, especially thanks to the preseason changes, giving them access to that Kraken Slayer to shred down the tanks.
I do think that Kindred is a nice middle ground of what I think Ethug really probably wants to play, which is that Twitch, who has had moments in the jungle, but just feels so squishy, especially without that ultimate, the Lamp Spite, which he didn't even cast a single time in that game, by the way. That allows Ethug to be super aggro, but also have the ability to save himself. So I do like how Boise State has said, hey, how about not Twitch? How about Kindred? And he's made it work perfectly well. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with game number 2. Can the Broncos secure their first 2-0 victory of the season? Well, the Aztecs force us to another game 3. That's all around the corner after this short break.
Legendary parts for legendary wins.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Boise State picking up that game number 1 victory over San Diego State here in the 3rd game of CLOL as the Broncos trying to defend their championship from the fall. Joining me is Daniel Glovely-Clock. And Glovely, we were talking about this during the break. Kindred feels like it's nearing that ban potential. You said it's only been banned away once against Boise State, which is absolutely incredible. But Ethug has so many other champions. It kind of feels like a waste. I mean, you got the Graves, you got the Hecarim. I mean, there's just so many different things he can play if you ban away Kindred.
Yeah, and on top of that, like I was saying earlier today, Jungle has so many viable and powerful champions in that role. And Ethug, of course, we've seen has a very wide champion pool. You even mentioned the Twitch earlier. It is still something that you can run in the jungle. So something that teams need to consider when they're choosing into Boise State. Do they let that Kindred go through? Do they value it? And do they think that they can bait out an easier pick of sorts from the side of Ethug?
And the crazy thing to me with Ethug is, you and I were talking about it. Hecarim feels like he's lost just a step. Not because of the play of Ethug, just with the new items. I think the jungle item was one of those really strong items on Hecarim. It feels like Hecarim has taken a step back in terms of overall power. We have not seen Ethug play the Lilia, who is still incredibly strong, by the way, and he absolutely pops off on. And that hasn't even been a thought yet this season. That's just how incredible he has been. And with this Kindred, it fits into that Rumble category like we talked about. It really feels bad to ban Kindred. She's not a, oh my gosh, I can't deal with Kindred champion, except when Ethug plays her. So it feels like a wasted ban, I think, for a lot of teams. And that's, I think, what holds them back, because they already have to ban Rumble.
Definitely. And whenever you look at these champions who are like, oh, these are niche pocket picks, I mean, what can they really do? And then someone picks up that Darius that you didn't want to ban because, oh, it's just Darius, and then suddenly he's got a pentakill, and your whole team is like, what in the world was that?
Yeah, I think Boise State does a really good job of coming off as one tricks in a sense, but then punishing you when you just assume they're one tricks. I mean, Ascent, I even remember when he joined the team, I was like, man, this is a lot of Rumble. Like, is he going to be able to play anything else? And, you know, I heard from Koba and Doth, like, yeah, in scrims, he didn't even play Rumble, and he was just absolutely annihilating people. So he has done a really great job of making that Rumble permanent ban. There's the Olaf, who we talked about is incredibly strong. I mean, even someone is as unskilled as me can go, like, I think 16-0 I went in my first prelim game as Olaf. It just feels that easy. There's the Urgot ban way at the top laner. The Ashe and the Shen, we're not getting a Kindred ban unless they're leaving Rumble on the table.
I mean, it is entirely possible we see that Seraphine banned away. I'm assuming that Seraphine by Boise State. There's the Rumble. We were so close. Come on, guys. Let Ascent play Rumble.
Well, they are going to let that Galio through, which has been a very, very solid pick for Boise State this season. And now the question becomes, if you're San Diego State, I saw the Kindred flash on screen. I was about to say, do you draft Kindred? Or do you draft around stopping the Kindred? You mentioned maybe a big reason why Dean picked the Gragas is that Gragas' explosive cast is a huge counter to Lamb's Respite. Maybe we see San Diego State try and bait Ethug into playing Kindred and pick up that Gragas later on in the draft as we see the Thresh and the Jhin. Probably the bot lane San Diego State wanted. Kaisa maybe a little bit played more for R-Pike, but even then not as popular. So there's the Jhin, there's the Thresh, and there's the Senna for Boise State, which we don't know where that's going because Galio could be mid, could be support.
And that's one of the scariest things about playing against Boise State. They have so many champions that they're able to flex across multiple roles. That could be a Galio support. It could be a Galio mid. Ooh, dear. Okay. Okay, Boise State. Let's go. I'm excited for this.
All right. I mean, it has to be Tiger Udyr. I don't think there's a single way that this is the CDR, bear stance, stun the whole team, be incredibly tanky, and kite everyone build from Ethug. And maybe... who knows? I mean, I'm a big fan of trying to rotate Udyr up in the top lane. Doesn't always work out, but that is not something you and I expected, and you can see from San Diego State. I'm not sure they expected it either.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't have expected that going into our team. It is going to be Kindred picked away by San Diego, so maybe trying to give Ethug a taste of his own medicine. Udyr, definitely an option for Red Hots in the top lane as sort of a tanky build. You max out your turtle and bear stance, and you just take hits, and you go ham later. But of course, Ethug does have two offensive options. You mentioned the Tiger stance, but also the Phoenix stance if they're looking to go for a more magic damage route, also available on the table. Apparently, it looks like San Diego thinks that Renekton going to be taken off the table. They think that's going to be an Udyr jungle. LeBlanc the ban in response.
That Renekton ban just is so weird to me. Maybe I missed a game. Maybe Red Hot streamed a game where he went 35-0 and was one-shotting people as Renekton, but just doesn't feel like to me that Renekton has fit in with Boise State. When we played it, I don't think it's had the same oomph that it's had in professional level, and I think this team goes really far when we talked about, you know, maybe if it is Udyr, maybe it's someone else. You just put Red Hots on something incredibly tanky in the top lane. You kind of let him just get, you know, wet noodle fight it into the ground. Then he shows up at level 6, lands a huge ultimate, either the Stand United, the Unstoppable Force, and the Malphite, and the Shen are the two biggest ones, or even the Ornn Horn when he plays Ornn. So the Renekton ban feels really odd to me. There's the Gragas ban by San Diego State trying to take away that Kindred counter, and there's a Camille from Boise State as well. So really interesting to see where Boise State wants to go as we see production holding it down, making us look and sound good, and we'll find out relatively quickly here if that is a jungle or top Udyr. And there's the Silas picked up for San Diego State. Definitely an interesting choice.
Definitely. You do have two strong ultimates that you can pull from on the side of Boise State, and otherwise, well, I hope you like Phoenix stance because that's what you're getting. Silas, a bit of an interesting choice there. Zoe going to be the pick in response. We saw that banned last time, so she is a very powerful champion. That Sleepy Trouble bubble causes so many mid laners nightmares. Caused me more than a few nightmares myself, and like I can throw it off with tenacity most of the time. So very dangerous champion. That Paddle Star, of course, obliterates health bars, especially once she gets rolling.
I'm starting to wonder if that Silas was a preemptive counter pick to the Malphite, because you talked about powerful ultimates on Boise State side. Malphite is one of the strongest on Silas. The AP scaling on is absolutely incredible, and the last thing you want is for Silas to have a way into your team. So that to me maybe thinks that San Diego State was trying to bait Red Hot onto the Malphite, and that's why they picked the Silas, which is a very interesting strategy. He'll go with the Ornn instead, so still going to be on that tank in the top lane. And now San Diego State's got to wonder, they still get the, you know, Call of the Forge God, maybe the Hero's Entrance, the Senna ult as well, But if that Silas is really going to fit, and they're going to go full melee, I think they're trying to really make use of this Lamb's Respite, not only on Kindred, but on Silas, on Mordekaiser, and probably Thresh as well.
Yeah, and there are some very terrifying situations that you can get set up into. Maybe you're safe in the Lamb's Respite, but then all of a sudden Mordekaiser drags you to the Shadow Realm and gives you the bonk, and suddenly your health bar's gone, Mordekaiser's all powered up, and the opposing team is still alive.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I would love to see them also try and lantern our Pike into the Lamb's Respite. So just everybody's chilling out there. San Diego State with quite the unique comp here in this win-or-go-home game for the Aztecs. The Broncos leading the series 1-0 here. Boise State 2-0 in CLOL. San Diego State 1-1. But Boise State's had to work for those 2 victories. Every series so far for the Broncos has gone the distance. We'll see if San Diego State can make it 3 for 3 here. And I definitely think San Diego State was banking on, all right, we'll steal Kindred away, ha-ha. And once again, Ethug out of left field. I mean, Graves is still on the table. Lilia is still on the table. I mean, technically not a champion we've seen him play a lot, but Talia, who's incredibly strong in the jungle right now at Pro Play, she's still on the table. And he rips out the Udyr. I'll be really interested because usually full damage one-shot Udyr does not go very well.
I mean, we have seen Udyr technically being played in Boise State, but it was by a member of production team, Baratel, in a match against Rocket League in an in-house scrim. Not something we've ever seen Boise State as a team competitively pulling out. I'm very excited to see exactly what they do with it. Between the Stride Breaker and the Gore Drinker, you have some great fighter mythics that you can pull out. We're now seeing exactly what happened in the previous game for those of you who are just now joining us as we prepare to get into game number 2. Overall, Boise State, very strong first game.
Yeah, and that gank right there, a huge teleport by Ascent, picks up a double kill. Huge reason why they started to go in Boise State's favor. As you can see, I mean, the kills were basically even until that point. San Diego State even ahead there. Then this fight in the mid lane, absolutely phenomenal play, especially by Dean. Great explosive cast for the most part there to separate a member of San Diego State, put them in an unfavorable position. And that is how Boise State started to pull away. And then when Ethug, you could already see he's 5-1-2. It's not going to end well when that Kindred is so far ahead that he could just one-shot you. And Boise State played that comp to basic perfection almost.
Yeah, definitely the best way to get your scaling comp ahead is to put your scaling champion in a position where they can't get touched. Jungle isn't usually where you think of your hyper carry coming from, but Ethug's Kindred has pulled that off time and time again. And even though we criticize the focus on that top side of the map, because what is the Shen going to do if he gets a kill or 2 ahead? All of those eliminations were also going over to the Kindred, and those marks stacked, and soon it doesn't matter how tanky you are or how many shields you have, you're going to get shredded by a Kraken Slayer Kindred.
Yeah, and I think Ethug just plays, this fight in particular, so incredibly well. You could see all the damage goes on to Goblin, which in a normal circumstance is great. He's the AD carry. But when your Kindred's 9-1-5, basically plays as a pseudo AD carry, if you're not focusing her down, you're going to be in for a very, very long match. So I'm going to be very curious to see how San Diego State makes use of this Kindred. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to match the play of Ethug. But if they're able to get high-value Lamb's Respite, keep the team alive, and then especially if Silas can steal something like Call of the Forge God or the Hero's Entrance and really disrupt Boise State, the Aztecs have a pretty good team comp that they planned. I'm just too worried that it was a team comp that was too focused on how do we counter Boise State, and it might be players on champions that they're not as familiar with if you just hey, play your best champion.
Definitely. I mean, how many players out there do you know that play a lot of Kindred? She's not a particularly popular champion. That's why we remark all the time about, it feels bad to ban the Kindred because nobody plays the Kindred except for Ethug.
Yeah, we've seen teams try this with Rumble. There was actually, I think it was Nevada last fall in the championship game who's like, all right, we'll leave Rumble up. All of our eyes got really, really wide. Then they first pick Rumble and probably is basically a fourth ban of, hey, let's just not put it on Ascent. Let's put our mid laner on Rumble. And it did not go over as well because, again, Rumble's one of those niche champions. You either love him or you probably never heard of him before. So it is going to be really interesting how he plays on the Kindred. And then the Silas, to me, feels like it was a Silas hard counters Malphite. Let's just pick this, and that way we can't put Red Hots on Malphite. Now what does your Silas player do if he's not comfortable on the Silas? Which also begs the question, is it Silas top lane, and then they're drafting Mordekaiser for the mid, or what? Because usually Silas is in the mid, but when there's a Malphite, you send him up against the Malphite. So San Diego State's comp has me worried that they maybe try and thought 5 steps ahead and are going to end up costing themselves.
Yeah, you think too far ahead, and you end up missing a few steps in between. Although I will say that Xylas still has some good ultimates that he has access to. He's still got the Senna he can go for.
Yep.
The Call of the Forge God is still a powerful top lane ultimate, even if it's no unstoppable force.
Yeah, there's 3 really good ultimates, none of them on top of force level, and then there's 2 just absolute meme ultimates, especially the Zoe ult, where it's like, hey, ult, where'd you go? You didn't go anywhere. I mean, the ult is, of course, designed to get maximum range on your paddle star. So, yeah, a lot of pressure on Xylas. And then for Mordekaiser, you look across this team, who are you ulting if you're the Mordekaiser for San Diego State? I mean, Senna would be about my only guess.
I mean, if I had to guess, I would say that you use it in a way almost to sort of troll someone with that Lamb's Respite. Oh, suddenly your team's all in the Lamb's Respite. Oh no, I'm low, but it's okay. Lamb's Respite is active. And then suddenly Lamb's Respite isn't there because Mordekaiser has dragged you off to the Death Realm and he's got a little something to say hello to you with.
Yeah, and the not many champions on Boise State that are really going to thrive from the Quicksilver Sash. Definitely going to be curious to me for the Broncos bot lane, what the strategy is going to be as we get Doc's keys to the game. Of course, understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, especially that Kindred when she picks up that Kraken Slayer. I'm sure Ethug knows all about that, usually from a positive side, and play your game. It's all brought to you by Count, who's a trust global network to delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. If you want to stay safe online, go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. Getting back to what I was talking about in that bot lane, though, Glovely, what do you think we'll see from the Senna? Do you think we'll see the Soul Senna where they're going to let, I would assume, the Galio get all the CS, or do you think they're going to go with the more, I'll let Goblin get all the CS on the Senna, and he'll just get however many souls he picks up?
I mean, I suppose it depends on how much they're willing to let this Galio roam. One of the strengths he brings to the table is that when he hits that level 6, that Hero's Entrance really allows him to turn ganks on their head. Of course, the downside of that is that you're sending your support away from your AD carry. Senna doesn't really have that much protection on herself. She's got one skill shot that if she whiffs it, she's caught. She's got a slight speed boost that doesn't allow her to survive in the face of abilities being thrown at her, even if it does technically protect her from auto attacks. So a very dangerous consideration there with that Galio. It is still a very versatile champion, though, so maybe they could surprise us. It could be Zoe's support and Galio in the mid lane.
Well, unfortunately, I think we've actually seen that before, by the way. I think we've actually seen Zoe in the bot lane, and Boise does a really good job of catching us off guard, but it's going to be all standard across the board. Looks like it is going to be that Mordekaiser up in the top lane. So Xylas in the mid against that Zoe. That'll neutralize a lot of the ults that Peter Lee's going to be able to pull off until he starts roaming around. And the one thing that I will say for San Diego State is if a fight does ever break out, you talked about maybe using the Death Realm to take someone out of Lamb's Respite. Also a really good way for Ornn to not be able to redirect his Call of the Forge God if you want to take him out. Not, you're not going to kill the Ornn, but at least you stop the charging Ram from just running over your whole team.
That is true, although the downside of that is that I'm sure you're taking the Ornn out of the fight and not letting his ultimate affect more people like that, but you're also spending an ult to counteract an ult, and just one ultimate, and it feels a little bad.
Yeah, the only problem for San Diego State is outside of that, there's not really many ways to stop the Call the Forge God from Red Hots. I mean, it's going to be all on Psyche Glitch on that Thresh, which is one of his favorite champions, to either hit the Flay or hit the Death Sentence, but saving those for an Ornn never feel good as well. So it's going to be very interesting of, do you maybe just Lamb's Respite the Call of the Forge God? Because right now Red Hots has full reign on that Call of the Forge God unless San Diego State, as we talked about, uses an ult for an ult. That's probably not something you ever want to do.
Definitely not, although they do have some options, and technically you can Lamb's Respite to survive through it. Feels bad, though, to not use that damage. We do see a pretty good trade there happening in that mid lane. Zoe kind of just doing a little dance around the minion. That melee versus range matchup is something real rough to deal with when you don't have really consistent healing.
Okay, when you have the corrupting potion there for Peter Lee, he's also got the fleet footwork as well, so he's going to try and go for more lane sustain than the late game Conqueror. Almost impossible to die Silas build that you see from time to time. We also do see that Goblin is opting for the standard. I'm just going to get the farm as the Senna. However many souls I get is however many souls I will get. Got to watch out for that high damage combo of the Jhin. As you said, Glovely, against Boise State, it's almost always going to be Kai'Sa or Jhin unless they're banned away. Boise State, bot lane, they played Kai'Sa once or twice, but I don't think Jhin fits into the strategy, so we'll see a Senna instead, which is something that you don't always see, and Boise State does a really good job with these sort of niche champions.
I mean, Senna was viable for a very long time, and no wonder. And when you consider the fact that it's a utility champion and Goblin favors that ash so much, utility champion, slows happening. Oh, a good dive there. Mordekaiser barely able to stay alive, but here comes a gank.
And we saw this play to perfection by Boise State last time. Kimo should be able to pick up a stack here, and he will. So it's first blood for San Diego State. And at least 3 minutes in, the Kindred pickup has worked out perfectly, doing exactly what Boise State did last game, rotating top, picking up a kill, and getting a stack right away on that Kindred. Doesn't look like he'll get the second mark, as it's all the way down on that bot side Rift Scuttle, and Ethug already on top of him.
Yeah, but this is what we saw in the previous game, being turned against Boise State. And when we see, a focus on that top side, Red Hot's not exactly used to playing those carry champions for his team. He already getting ganked again.
He's going to dash away. You saw Ethug rotating over. Nice death sentence is going to land onto Dean. Root will land onto Psyche Glitch. He's going to pair it over to R-Pike as well. Dean forced 2 Justice Punch away. Dropping low from the Ignite. Looks like no chase, though, from San Diego State. Goblin should be able to heal him up, and Boise State's bot lane will barely survive. And now we've got some action in the top lane. You've got a ping onto the Mordekaiser. Chemo's going to be chased out of the jungle by Ethug, and the camera thinks that none of this matters as we're still sticking down in the bot lane.
There is certainly a lot of pressure here in that bot lane from the Thresh. Dean is able to heal himself up, having to use all of his potions, though, to keep himself sustained in that lane. There are some advantages to playing the Galio into the Thresh. If a death sentence is coming towards you, the Justice Punch does protect you from it a little bit. Senna, though, going to get caught out by the root.
Nice play as well. R-Pike got to be careful. Taunt barely misses. Boise State's bot lane forced to retreat under their own tower. 2 waves slamming down as well, and no minions to block the death sentence, means Psyche Glitch going to have full access here. Even a soul bouncing around that Goblin cannot get to. Ascent's been putting a ton of damage onto Peter Lee in the mid lane, just has not been able to get the kill. There's 2 souls. Death sentence goes out, lands onto Goblin. He's going to be forced to use the heal. Taunt from Dean barely going to miss, and Boise State's bot lane right now just trying to survive.
And this is one of those downsides we were talking about earlier. The Galio likes to roll, but if you're in a situation where the opposing lane can constantly threaten your laner, great Sleepy Trouble Bubble there, but if you're in a situation where your AD carry is constantly being threatened, you can't be free to roam and help the rest of your team. You need to keep your AD carry alive, or suddenly you're going to have a Jhin dropping, thousands of points of damage on you.
Yeah, Boise State, we've talked about, love to have Dean rotating around, especially on that Galio, can kind of set up kills as a secondary junglers. Red Hot now taking a ton of damage, forced to charge away. Did see Kimo does have the mark onto Ethug, who definitely wants to be able to take down that Udyr in the jungle. Still have not quite seen what build Ethug is going. Does look like he has at least 1 point into Phoenix stance, so I would be shocked if he ever uses it. As they say that, he uses it. So curious to see if it is maybe the more tanky Udyr coming out from Ethug, something I would have never expected to see.
It's entirely possible. The teams are moving in. Taunt finds a target, and Ethug picks up the elimination for himself, swaps from Phoenix to Bear now.
Great route there going to come out from R-Pike, but Boise State should be able to pick up this Ocean Dragon, relatively uncontested for now. Really just nothing that Peter Lee could do. All of that CC layered perfectly from the taunt to the Justice Punch to the Bear form. Really nowhere for him to go. And Boise State gets their first dragon of the game. It's an Infernal next. It's either another Cloud Soul or a Mountain Soul going to be preventing itself later in the game.
Part of me is surprised that it's still so early in the game, only about 7 minutes in. We hopefully will soon be seeing exactly what sort of plan Ethug has for this Udyr. Hasn't picked up any items, but he's getting caught out in the jungle now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kimmo's going to look to pick up another mark there. Great use of the stun by Peter Lee to be able to hook himself right on top of him. And Boise State's jungler now going to fall to 1-1, and there's the Bomby Cinder. So for maybe the first time ever, or one of the few times, it's going to be a tank for Ethug. That puts a lot of pressure on Ascent and Goblin to be the main damage dealers for the Broncos.
Definitely, and of course, the real danger here is the fact that that bot lane and that top lane, neither of them are really doing very well. There has been one successful attempt there in that mid lane, picking up that assist. Even as I'm talking, though, Ethug finds a fight in the jungle.
It's just at level 6, no Lamp Spider, but a little flash going to come out from Kimmo there. There's the call of Forge God, and it's going to snipe down that Kindred. The redirect is going to miss, however, as Ethug and Senipik are in the Shadow Realm. It will fade. Knockup from Red Hots is going to miss. Bearform stun going to land. Grippin going to miss as well. Ethug running circles around this Mordekaiser. They're going to force him to flash away. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Dean does get taken out by Psychic Volition R Pike. So Boise State trades 1-for-1 across the map. And this bot lane for Boise State just falling further and further behind. And when they need to be a main source of damage, that is not something you want to see if you're a Bronco fan.
So we talked about how Tank Udyr isn't exactly a carry-based champion. And to some degree that is true, but it's possible what he could be doing is going for a tank mythic and then using that to enable the rest of his build that might be focused around the damage. Certainly picking up that Bomby Cinder early on gives you a lot of ability to clear just because it's constantly dealing damage to the monsters anytime you're trying to farm.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. I mean, like, you and I were both almost caught off guard when that Udyr did come out, so it's a very interesting pick already. Peter Lee has been taking a ton of damage. You can see the CS advantage for Ascent in that mid lane, now sitting at nearly 30. So that Silas is not going to be coming online very soon. Just one assist to his name. Red Hot's now going to have to be careful. Senipik's going to throw out some damage, but there's no jungler in sight, so they'll just trade back and forth as per usual in the top lane matchup.
As someone who has played into that Mordekaiser matchup many times, it's not exactly a fun ride. Really good damage coming out in that mid lane, though, from the Zoe onto Silas. He's going to be forced to back up a bit, and he is very reliant on those corrupting potions to keep himself healthy long enough. Good engage there from Red Hots, but still taking a lot of damage and not really able to do much in return to the Mordekaiser, especially now that he has his Leeching Leer.
And Mordekaiser's been pretty healthy in this matchup, especially when he hit level 8. And it's been a really good job by Ascent. You mentioned he's been weaving in those auto attacks as often as possible to proc that electrocute, get some extra damage. Here comes a roam down from Boise State. There is the flash away from the Justice Punch. Root still going to land. Winds of War will come down as well. Senna alt barely misses the kill. R-Pike does have Ignite ticking on it, but heal's going to keep him alive. Call the Forge God now, going to be used as Ethug. Dueling Senipik. They will go to the Shadow Realm, but that's not where Mordekaiser wants to be. Call an ambulance, but not for me, says Ethug. Lamb's Respite's going to come out, barely keep that Mordekaiser alive. Ethug now has to be careful. He will finally be taken out. Red Hot's now dueling Kimmo, going to be flashed over by Peter Lee. It'll be a double kill for San Diego State, but I don't think that's how Mordekaiser drew it up. Nearly gets 1v1 in his own death realm. Sleepy Trouble Bubble and Paddle Star will land, but Boise State's got to be careful. And unfortunately for them, couldn't quite finish off that Mordekaiser in time.
Yeah, really great roam there from San Diego State. Right now they've had a lot of priority over the mobility across the map. Zoe not able to get there in time to influence things, and as a result, it's ultimately, in a way, a 3 versus 2 fight.
The CeeLo going on across the Mountain West. Do have our first maybe potential major upset of the day in the works. Colorado State, who is one of the teams at 2-0, expected to be one of the top 4 teams. The 3rd place finish in the fall semester, has lost game 1 to San Jose State. We will keep you updated on that one, but the Spartans looking to knock off the Rams from the ranks of the unbeaten. Boise State, one of those teams as well, though game 2 has not been going their way as much as game 1 has, but the Broncos still have another game to play with if they get to that point. But Boise State's still relatively close. I mean, especially the CS in the jungle, in that mid lane, are really keeping Boise State ahead despite a lot of great plays by San Diego State.
And looking at the items, first Mythic has been finished for Boise State, and it is going to be that Hextech Chem Tank, and a fight breaks out.
Ethug's going to jump right onto Chemo here. His entrance is going to be used. They're going to land right onto Psyche Glitch. He does have the Blast Cone available, but he's going to get rooted up and taken out. Ethug's going to have to run away on very low health. Paddle Star electrocute. Good night, Peter Lee. Chemo going to try and run away. Paddle Star is going to come out. The flash from Ascent. It's a double kill for him. We saw why the Zoe was banned away in game number 1, and Boise State picks up 2 on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, definitely. Boise State kind of bullying them into their jungle. We saw exactly what their game plan is. That is going to be the teleport. Ornn, unfortunately, not able to stop the Mordekaiser from coming down, but Mordekaiser not really doing much to help his team other than maybe warding off this Rift Herald that's going to come crashing into the back of their tower.
Yeah, we'll see if Shelly is able to get a charge off. Does look like it still lands. You see the gold land in Ethug's pocket, so still a worthwhile use of that Rift Herald. Curtain Call is going to come out, but it's not going to matter as Ethug's going to land a great smite. Death Sentence does land onto Dean, though. Ethug looking for something to stun. It's a Cloud Soul once again. Dean going to be able to dash away the Justice Punch. Set knee pick incredibly low. Electrocute doesn't quite kill him. Ethug going to try and take him down. He will take him down in the Death Realm. Peter Lee has the Sentinel. Goblin in on the back line. Great use of the stopwatch there from Psychic Glitch to keep him alive. Goblin now trying to get away. Lamb's despite forced to be used. Flash going to come out from Goblin. He'll be pursued by that Kindred. Blast Cone over the wall. There's no follow-up. Ascent with the great dodge there. Super Trouble Bubble just misses. No mana for that Zoe. Death Sentence will miss as well. And Boise State will go 1 for 1 plus a Dragon. And they'll take that trade any day of the week.
A lot of really near eliminations there from San Diego. That's got to be a little frustrating. Meanwhile, Red Hot's just kind of casually chilling back in that top lane, using that Demolish to get a couple of plates off of that top lane. That's going to give him the gold to continue competing with this Mordekaiser up in the lane and keep up the gold he needs to really be a threat for the rest of his team. He may not seem like a very hard scaling champion, but those items that he provides for his team gives you so many late game stats, and it's those late game stats they're going to need if this Kindred continues to scale.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Boise State, we saw it. The teleport by Sen knee picks just channeled right in the face of Red Hots, knowing there was nothing he could do to stop him, and with no teleport available, or Red Hots are like, all right, well, I might as well just push as much as I can. First tower is still on the table, and Boise State has that top tower decently low enough that one more charge from Heraldina spawning on the map here in the next minute would secure first tower for Boise State. Dean chilling in this bush. He's going to land a huge shot on Chemo. Justice Punch going to come out as well. Lamb's Spite not available. It would not matter. Paddle Star sends him to the next dimension. Going to flash away from the knockup there from Ornn. Ethug going to land the Bear Stance stun, waiting for it to time out. There it will go. Phoenix Stance going to be used as well. Here's the Tiger under the tower. No Death Realm available. Nice dodge there by Ethug. Only so much Sen knee picks can do. Boise State picks up 2. Now we got a 1v1 of the 80 carries. Last time our Pike won this. He won't get it this time. Not enough damage. Goblin wins. Boise State picks up 3 across the map, and the Broncos sitting in a very good position.
And that's a huge win, especially in that bot lane. We were concerned as to whether or not Goblin was going to have the damage to be able to be this carry for his team. He is very low health and potentially going to be caught out behind this turret, but still, we proved he was able to pick out a great fight. Is going to get caught in a 2 versus 1. Sorry, Goblin. 3 versus 1 is going to get shut down, and that went over to the Kindred, though, so that's something to be very concerned about.
Yeah, Goblin was trying to get up to that turret. Unfortunately, rotation came out just in time. Boise State, though, is going to pick up 2 towers for that. Interesting to note that Goblin has gone for the Kraken Slayer, a very interesting item on the Senate with her slower attack speed. Doesn't proc as often as it might on an Ashe. Super Trouble Bubble is going in on our Pike. Here comes the Paddle Star. Good night. Ascent is popping off. Here's entrance going to be used to try and keep him alive. Double lockup is going to land. The box not going to be able to slow it down. That Zoe ult comes out, but it's not enough to keep her alive. It's the Senate ult just seconds too late. And Boise State will trade 1 for 1, but you're already seeing the power of Ascent on that Zoe. 4, 1, and 3. 121 CS, almost 40 more than Peter Lee. And anyone who gets hit by a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, 1-shot potential.
It's nice to see someone other than Ethug being a huge carry for the team. We do see a fight up in the top lane, but here comes the hero's entrance.
Peter Lee stealing that one from Dean, and it's actually going to cost Red Hots. Dean was rotating up, just couldn't get there in time. No hero's entrance available for him. San Diego State has done a really good job keeping in this game by making sure they get a pick or 2 at Boise State when the Broncos least expect it. But still, overall, Boise State's got to feel comfortable. 4, 3, and 3 for Ethug on that Udyr. 4, 1, and 3 on that Zoe for Ascent. And right now, Boise State's sitting in a pretty good position.
There is a very slight gold lead for Boise State, currently sitting roughly 3K, I'd say, at this point above San Diego. So they do have that gold lead, but remember that most of that is coming from objectives at this point, not from eliminations. Yes, they have managed to get some good eliminations, but San Diego has been shutting down the members. Currently only one bounty on their team, on Ethug's Udyr, and he's the tankiest member of the team right now.
Hey, what are your thoughts? We were trying to transition there, and then a fight breaks out, as it always does, as we're settling around that dragon spawning soon. What are your thoughts about that Kraken Slayer on that Senna? Not a champion with a very fast attack speed, but when that third shot goes off, especially depending on how many souls Goblin gets, he can make people go pop as well.
I think one of the options there with the Kraken Slayer is certainly you don't get as many attacks, but everyone hits harder, and there's the fight.
You know, it's a great death sentence to land on the Goblin. Call of the Forge God is going to come out. Arpike's forced to flash away. Ethug's going to take care of him. Dean in descent, rotating in. There's the Paddle Star, just going to miss, however. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to come out onto Psyche Glitch. He will almost go down. Huge Lamb's Respite. Peter Lee going to go over the wall, and now it's Boise State forced to run for the hills. Dean's going to go down. It's a double kill for Sen Nepix. Ascent barely makes it out alive, and Boise State fights off more than they can chew, and they'll hand Dragon over to San Diego State.
As I was saying, Boise State may have had a gold lead, but it wasn't that big of a gold lead. We've seen much more terrifying ones still be turned around in fights, and Boise State picks off a bad fight with a lot of ultimates still available for the side of San Diego. Boise State overall doesn't have a very strong team fight build. Certainly they have some good team fight members. Like they do have the Ornn, certainly, and the Galio is a great team fighter. But the rest of their team is really more suited to picking targets off in single situations. And with stuff like that, you need to get ahead early on. Here comes the Chem Tank engage.
And Boise State this time doing a good job. Teleport used by Red Haunts as well to cut off Kimmo. Now they're going to try and chase down Sen Nepix. He's got the Blast Cone available. Will barely get away from Ethug, but he is still in hot pursuit. Bearstan's going to come out. There's the bonus movement speed. Arpike is there, but it's not going to deter him. Finally, he realizes he should turn around. No one for Boise State following. Senna ult will come out, do a decent chunk of damage, but Lantern back to safety, and that Blast Cone going to be the only thing that kept Sen Nepix alive there.
Couple of key ultimates down, but in the meantime, Boise State continuing to deal damage to these objectives. A very macro-focused game as the engage attempt is denied.
Yeah, Grievous Wounds definitely should be on the shopping list for Boise State, just to at least shut down that Silas. We've seen time and time again also the healing that Kindred can do, especially the way that Ethug builds it, could be a problem. There is Heraldina. She's going to pick up that tier 2 mid tower, and here comes an engage right onto Ascent. He is going to be eliminated. Will the Broncos disengage? The answer appears to be yes. And those death sentences from Psyche Glitch on his preferred champion have been absolutely paramount to San Diego State remaining in this game and even taking the kill lead here. 20 minutes gone.
Boise State is still very much playing that macro game, though, across the map. They have pressure advantage in all the other lanes. Red Hots is down there. Demolish available. He'll probably pick up that tower, but it does look like San Diego State might be eyeing the Baron.
Yeah, no teleport available for Red Hot. No teleport available for Ascent, who is still dead for 5 more seconds. Here comes the rotation up from Boise State. Health bars decently low for San Diego State. They will be scouted out, but the Aztecs going to full send here on the objective. Disengage comes from Sen Nepix. He's going to go to the Shadow Realm with Ethug to prevent the Smite steal. Here comes the Ornn Horn. Is it going to be enough? Red team's going to pick up the Baron, but San Diego State might not be long for this world. Healing's going to come out for Peter Lee. There's the hero's entrance. Bam! 2 of them go up in the air, and 2 of them will go down. The last 2 remaining members trying to stay alive. Ethug will get shut down. Did not wait for the rest of his team. Boise State will lose the Baron, but only Mordekaiser and Kindred will keep it alive for San Diego State as the Broncos do a great job rushing in on the Aztecs.
Great job closing the gap, especially considering what tools they didn't have available to them. The Ornn Horn did come through, but he didn't have the teleport to get there in time. They had to use the hero's entrance just to get Galio into the fight. And speaking of the hero's entrance, not available here on this Mordekaiser as Red Hots picks a fight.
Still a flash available for Sen Nepix. Now he's going to commit it to get away from the taunt. Justice Punch in, trying to kite for the rest of his team. Kimmo is rotating down. Red Hot's barely alive. Kindred can't quite get in range with the Q. Gonna try and do it again. Taunt is going to land. Boise State now probably should not have turned that fight. Trying to buy enough time for Red Hots. He still has a turret available if he can get there. Call the Forge God not online. Lamb for Spite is. If they want to try a tower dive, does not matter. We've seen the Kindred damage, and Boise State's going to lose one. Here comes E-Thug, though. Going to get flayed away, getting absolutely destroyed by that Kindred. Boise State, for some reason, going to throw away another kill, and that's 3 on the bottom side of the map for just the Mordekaiser.
And we're seeing a lot of peel being used by this Thresh to keep the Kindred alive so she can continue to fight with the rest of her team. And there is some form of crowd control across almost all members of their team between the Jin's root, the knockup from Silas, and of course Mordekaiser just saying, okay, you're just not allowed to fight our Kindred at all until they're ready.
Yeah, the Psyche glitch with some great PO there. Kimmo 11-4-4 has the Collector as well as the Infinity Edge online. Also looks like the, I can't tell if that's the Eclipse or not. New items plus small item window. Definitely sometimes hard to see what is being built, but Boise State still, it's definitely not the Kraken Slayer. I can tell you that much, which is an interesting choice because it feels like the Kraken Slayer would go hand in hand with Kindred. And, you know, we talked about it, Glovely. Kindred is a niche pick. Would San Diego State be able to pick it up as well as E-Thug has? I don't know if we want to go that far, but Kimmo still played it incredibly well.
So I'm looking closer, and that is Gale Force that he's chosen over the Kraken Slayer. A bit more mobility as the fight once more breaks out here by the Dragon.
Send knee picks dropping incredibly low. Kimmo barely staying alive. Lamp Spite is going to come out. Shadow Realm used, but it's not going to be enough. Hero's entrance will come crashing in. They're going to catch out Peter Lee on the very edge. Ignite will land. It's a shutdown for Dean. Onto that Kindred. Another one will fall. Psychic gets forced to flash over the wall, but guess what? There's E-Thug chasing down our Pike, who's going to be taken out. One more member left alive between Boise State and an Ace. There's the bear form. You're not getting away from an Udyr no matter how much you try. Flay can only keep him alive for so long. It's an ace for Boise State. And when the Broncos focus down that Kindred, doesn't matter how fed she is, there's only so much he can do.
And now E-Thug going right into the base, putting out pressure by forcing these minions off the turret. Certainly proxying from behind the opposing team's turret is one way to be able to deny those farm. E-Thug is going to get executed. No elimination there for San Diego. And in the meantime, Red Hot's coming up behind him to take out the turrets. Boise State really taking advantage of this power play. That's 2 turrets down. And oh my goodness, half the health of the Mordekaiser to boot.
Yeah, Ascent is incredibly scary, and it feels like Boise State has really only lost fights when people get picked off. Ascent does have the bonus flash. He'll commit that. Curtain call will come out. Miss. Hit for shot, gonna miss, and Ascent should be able to get away. Kimmo and Sen Meepig still chasing, but I don't think San Diego State wants to bite off more they can chew, especially how that last fight went. And big difference there, no one got caught for Boise State. Sen Meepix and Kimmo got so low they forced the Lamb for Spite, and as soon as it faded, Boise State took huge advantage.
We're now over 20 minutes into the game, 24, almost 25 minutes here. Boise State knocking hard on the doors of San Diego State's base, 22-18 in eliminations, and it looks like Goblin might be getting caught out on that top lane. 3 members up for this 180 carry, and that's kind of been the story, but here comes the teleport.
Oh, huge Justice Punch save and the taunt. Kimmo barely gets the Lancet off, and he could get smited before he can throw down the Lamp of Spite. Ornhorn is going to miss, but it's not going to matter. Psyche Glitch goes down as well. There's a knockup onto Sen Neepix, has the Death Realm, but I don't think it's going to matter. He'll use it to try and keep himself in a 1v1. Boise State has full rotated over. Mordekaiser's not getting away one way or another. Goblin picks up the kill. He baits in 3. They all go down, and Boise State plays that fight to perfection.
And that's the downside of all these teams trying to focus down Goblin. Yes, he can be an absolutely terrifying carry, but you put all that focus on him when he's playing these utility champions, and he's got so many tools he uses to keep himself alive despite the aggression. Turret goes down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Ascent is doing Ascent things.
Well, Ascent's still over on the Dragon. E-Thug's doing E-Thug things. Here comes Ascent for the assist. Sleeping Trouble Bubble is going to miss. Paddle Star will barely miss as well, but Peter Lee is not long for this world. E-Thug and Ascent doing their thing in the bot lane. Meanwhile, topside, Boise State's got the top inhibitor turret. They'll try to disengage. They got to be careful. Kimmo picks up 1. Still can't throw the Lamb's Fight down in time as Goblin, proving why that Kraken Slayer was the right choice. 8, 2, and 9 on that Senna. We'll see if Mordekaiser and Thresh want to pursue, but I would not recommend.
As we were trying to say earlier, this Senna, she may not deal as much or she may not get as many auto attacks with that Kraken Slayer, but every single time she does get that Kraken Slayer, she's going to be dealing way more damage than any other AD carry would. on that. And sometimes just that little bit of extra burst makes all the difference on a team that otherwise is very reliant on being able to heal themselves consistently through these fights.
And we see the Rage Blade being built there as well by Goblin, Executioner's Calling, as well as the Rapid Fire Cannon and Azeel trying to give that champion as much attack speed as necessary, as the Souls do a good job for making up for that lack of AD burst that the Senna might have, as you mentioned. Yeah, once you hit that third shot on that Kraken Slayer, not many AD carries are going to be doing much more. And Boise State setting up pretty well right now. One more team fight might win them the game. There's an exposed inhibitor in the top lane. There's also Baron up as well. Sense hanging around that bot side, trying to get our Pike to roam out just a little bit further, but I don't think he's going to fall for the trap.
You know, I don't think I've ever seen a Senna have that high of attack speed ever in my life. I'm so used to Senna's going for either a full AD build or a lethality style build or even like an enchanter item support build. But Goblin proving that there is a lot of versatility in this champion.
Yeah, you're right. Now that we actually get the camera on Goblin for a little bit, I've actually never seen a Senna attack that fast. You know, usually it's, you know, the slow, you know, big damage, slow attacks. This is, you know, much faster than you're ever used to seeing. As Boise State, oh, Ethug leaves the blue buff at 1 HP. He'll rotate back. The Broncos setting her up around this Baron. One last fight here for the Aztecs. You'd have to think gold lead has ballooned to 8K now. And if the Broncos pick up another clean ace or even a 5-for-1, they should be able to finish off this game in short order.
Definitely, and the game is going to be very focused around these objectives. Sleepy Trouble Bubble comes out, doesn't find a target, call the Forge God as the fight starts.
Gonna knock up two. Death Realm is going to be used on Red Hots there. Mordekaiser, though, not winning that battle. Boise State on the back line. Taunt is going to land onto Kimmo. Peter Lee, the first one who will fall. Boise State's gonna lose one as Dean goes down. Here comes Ethug. Stun gonna land onto our Pike. Lamspite still available, but not gonna be used in time. Ethug will disengage. Psychic Glitch goes down as well. Lamspite comes out, but it's way too late, Kimmo. You gotta use it when the rest of your team's alive. He'll flash it over the wall, sniped out by Goblin, and this has to be the game for Boise State with that ace and more than 30 seconds waiting for San Diego State to get one person back in the fight.
At the very least, it's going to be two inhibitors. Since the base is so wide open, they're definitely going to pick up that first one. They have a small minion wave, not really enough to take, I'd say, 2 more turrets. They are going to have to back off at least a little bit here unless they feel like they can plow through these turrets. And they do have the Senna, so the healing is enough. They can plow through a second turret as San Diego watching helplessly from the death timers. Here comes Mordekaiser, hopefully savior of the team. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, 3 members do spawn all at the same time. There goes our Pike just like that. Peter Lee's going to join him as well. Boise State padding the stats. Sen Neepix doesn't want that. He'll head back to Fountain. Kimmo back to live. Boise State doesn't care about the Nexus. Goblin is legendary. Sen Neepix falls as well. It's a double kill for the Senna. Kimmo gets 2, but it's not going to be enough. Boise State picks up a triple kill. 13, 2, and 14 on the Senna. And Goblin and Red Hot's going to finish out this game. Boise State picks up the first 2-0 victory of the season, and the Broncos move to 3-0 in CLOL of the spring semester.
You know, we went into this game expecting this Udyr to be some sort of surprise power pick, but in the end, it's the attack speed Senna coming from Goblin that really propels Boise State to the win.
Yeah, great job by Boise State. Thought maybe we might go to a game 3 there at the start, but they played it absolutely perfectly, totally caught off guard by that Udyr pick from Ethug, but he made it work. Well, the beatdown at Boise State is coming, and it's going to be held February and broadcast live. Join Boise State's premier fighting game event in Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Dragon Ball Z Fighter, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate to test your skills against the Idaho fighting community. Open brackets will be held online with an in-person finals event hosted at Boise State University. You can register at Smash GG at the link down below. The beatdown Boise State. Really excited, honestly. We saw our first Call of Duty official match for the Broncos team this year, and now you can see Boise State getting into the fighting game scene as well. Cannot wait to see how all of that goes down. And speaking of fighting, Boise State made sure San Diego State put up a fight, but Boise State said, you know what, calm down. We're still the kings of the Mountain West, and they put them down in short order once we hit that 23-minute mark.
Yeah, it was definitely very worrisome early on. Boise State might have had a gold lead, but we did see exactly why that Kindred is so powerful. The ability to pick up those stacks off of the constant ganks in the top lane, even catching Ethug out in his own jungle to pick up those early eliminations, get those quick stacks. But it turns out he's really just a distraction, and that's the way it's been sometimes. Usually it's Goblin being a distraction for Ethug, but this time it's Ethug being a distraction for Goblin as this absolutely terrifying Senna build comes out from the bot lane. It just took a little while to come online.
Yeah, you and I both commented, I would have loved to have seen the final attack speed stat on Goblin on that Senna because it was just so quick. And I think Boise State also, we talked about it. Unfamiliarity on champions can cost you. The Lamb's respites for Kimmo, there was a couple really good ones. There are a couple he never used at all. And then in that final fight, he didn't use it until he was the only one left alive. So it was a great play. We saw the power, but still, if you're not using that Lamb's respite correctly, there's not a whole lot that Kindred brings to the table in terms of your standard jungler who can be that tank, who can be that initiator like we saw from Ethug on this Udyr.
There's also that danger that, yes, you just did steal the Kindred away from someone who's really good with him, but you also were stealing the Kindred away from someone who knows Kindred and knows their weaknesses, which means that gets fully exploited by Boise State because they have the knowledge all about this Kindred.
Yeah, and I think there were at times where the Death Realm, we kind of highlighted as, well, maybe it's I'll take you out of Lamb's Respite when you're low. It was mainly, I got to use the Death Realm for send knee picks to be able to stay alive, and then even 10, he still went down. So Boise State moves to 3-0. The Aztecs will fall to 1-2, and we're also keeping our eyes on Colorado State and San Jose State. The Rams had a chance to move to 3-0, but they lost game 1 to the Spartans, and we'll keep you updated until we end our broadcast. We still have our player of the game, though, brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union and Glovely. Usually it's Ethug, and after game 1, I'd say let's put another one on his fridge, but this time it's a tough pick between Ethug and Goblin for who deserves it.
Definitely. Both of them put out amazing performances where they carried games with them. But personally, I'd like to suggest Goblin this time. Ethug usually gets a lot of focus in that player of the game for a good reason. Boise State likes to center their team compositions around him, but this time he did such a good job playing a tank champion of all things that we did never expected him to play, just as a distraction for this terrifying build for Goblin, despite the fact that even in game 1 he was so hard focused on.
Yeah, and I think even Ascent probably deserves some praise as well. The Victor, very well played, and then the Zoe just making people go pop, always in the back of San Diego State's mind. If you get hit by a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, you're probably dead. He played those electrocutes perfectly, lining them up with the paddle stars. And, of course, Red Hot's probably not going to get player of the game love, but he does his job oh so well. Stand up in the top lane, don't feed the enemy top laner, and then use your ultimate in team fights. And then Dean, some of those insane Galio plays were absolutely incredible, saving Goblin. It is going to be Ascent, though, who picks up player of the game, and with good measure. We talked about it. A lot of focus usually goes on to Ethug. Some of it sometimes goes on to Goblin when he pops off, and Ascent is that solid player in the mid lane who could do things like that, teleport in for a double kill. That's what opened up game number 1, and game number 2 on that Zoe, he just bullied Peter Lee around the whole time.
And it goes to show that he's got a wide variety of mid laners he can choose. We did see him previously on the Fizz, but today he had a control mage, he had a battle mage. We've seen him play artillery-based mages. He's got so many champions he can use. And today, proving that mastery doesn't just go from, oh, I have this champion that I own them, I guess I can play the mid lane.
Yeah, the only thing that really prevents Ascent from racking up as many players of games as guys like Ethug is Ascent's main is always banned away. Ethug usually does get his pick of the litter in the jungle, but that Rumble has to be a big reason why, because banning that away means things like Zoe are still on the table, means things like Galio can sometimes still be on the table, things like Ornn can still be on the table, because Rumble just has to be taken away from him. So big congratulations to Ascent. He is the player of the game, brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like they're helping their members achieve financial success. Ascent is your Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game for the Broncos' 2-0 series victory over San Diego State in game number 3 of the LoL regular season. We see some of his great plays, and that Zoe was just absolutely incredible, honestly.
She's such a powerful champion. There's a lot of people who hate her just because that Sleepy Trouble Bubble lines you up for that, oh my goodness, everything true damage everywhere paddle star that comes from a million miles away. Very powerful champion, and we saw just how great she is at getting those picks onto crucial targets in the back line.
But a huge congratulations to all of Boise State, who is able to pick up another victory. We have just learned that Colorado State apparently made quick work of San Jose State. They are heading to a game number 3. The Rams and Boise State have gone at it all week in a host of games, from Call of Duty to League of Legends, for the Orange Squad for Boise State to Rocket League. We even had a pair of basketball games outside of the esports arena. Colorado and Boise State have been going at it, and right now they're competing for the top place in CLoL right now. The Rams 2-0, Boise State 3-0. Well, as we wrap up this match, and before we get to our top plays, Govley, any final thoughts here from this game between Boise State and San Diego State?
I think we learned today why you can't underestimate champion pools, or even just the way you play champions, because some of these champions have such a widely versatile options, and that's the real reason why they're seen as the cream of the crop, the top tier that are getting picked over and over and over again.
Well, that will wrap it up for the majority of this broadcast. We still have our top 5 plays, which, of course, are brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering a $20,000 bonus. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out and get more information at iGuard Gaming on Twitch. We'll have our top 5 plays, then we'll have our post-game press conference to wrap up the Broncos' third straight CLoL victory. So we'll be back with our press conference, but check out these top 5 plays. San Diego State with quite the unique comp here in this win-or-go-home game for the Aztecs. The Broncos lead. And who's going to join the fight? They're going to get the flash away for both of them, but a huge body slam plus the ultimate to knock our Pike right back into the fight. Gravity Well's going to cut him off. He's got no mana to go everywhere. It's a double kill for an Ascent, and that's why they played Gragas in the bot lane. A huge down. Wild Growth going to be forced out onto Peter Lee. Huge Ash Arrow snipe, and it's a 2-for-1 for Boise State. Teleport is going to be committed here by Sen Knee Picks. Goblin, meanwhile, just farming. Etha going to bait him right into Dean. Body Slam's going to knock him up. Here's the teleport from Red Hots. Can he get in range for the taunt? Huge Haymaker's going to land. Explosive Cast knocks him aside. Showstopper's not going to work. Boise jump right onto Chemo here. His entrance is going to be used. They're going to land right onto Psyche Glitch. He does have the Blast Cone available, but he's going to get rooted up and taken out. Ethug's going to have to run away. A very low health Paddle Star electrocute. Good night, Peter Lee. Chemo going to try and run away. Paddle Star is going to come out. The flash from Ascent. It's a double kill for him. We saw why the Zoe was banned away in game. Kaisa in the back line. Body blocks come out. Huge double taunt. Explosive Cast to separate the team. Send Knee Picks on the back line. Haymaker going to almost eliminate Goblin. There's the Showstopper as well. He'll flash away, and Boise State's going to pick up one. Chemo now has to try and teleport away. There's the sent in on the back line. Polymorph is not going to matter. It's a double kill for Red Hot. Boise State missing one for the clean ace. They'll seize the tower.
It's out here by the Dragon.
Send Knee Picks dropping incredibly low. Kimmo barely staying alive. Lamberspite is going to come out. Shadow Realm used, but it's not going to be enough. Hero's entrance will come crashing in. They're going to catch out Peter Lee on the very edge. Ignite will land. It's a shutdown for Dean. Onto that Kindred. Another one will fall. Psychic Glitch forced to flash over the wall, but guess what? There's Ethug chasing down our Pike, who's going to be taking out one. Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We wrap up today's action with our post-game press conference with Doc Haskell. And Doc, I know yesterday was your birthday. Did you require as a birthday gift that Ethug finally had to play a tank champion? Because that was something I never expected I'd ever see on the stream.
There's so many strange gifts that I got that seems like it would be exactly one of those.
We talked about it in the. I mean, I was like, okay, how can he build damage Udyr? He's gonna pull it off, and then I'm like, no, Bomb, you can't build tank Udyr.
I'll tell you, in comps, he wanted it. He knew what he was gonna do. He really did. It was beautiful.
We talked about this in the Open. Lovely and I did. CLoL for Boise State, 3-0. Yes. Couple of 3-game series against teams we maybe didn't expect. Did it feel good to finally live up to the preseason expectations for Boise State and 2-0 an opponent in the Mountain West that you were expected to not have many issues with?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, and Coach Moore and I were talking about this even today, is that not having players in the arena, we can't block out a lot of the distractions that you have at home. Someone knocking on your door, someone trying to get your attention for things. So when we're all distributed like this, it's just harder. And we've lost focus early in games. We can get that back.
And then finally, we've kept you guys updated. It's Game 3 for Colorado State and San Jose State. How much are you guys watching the rest of the Mountain West, and how much are you preparing for who potentially might be in those top 4 teams to make the playoffs? Or are you just, hey, we'll keep an eye on their record, but we're just doing our thing?
No. We watch those games. We break those games apart. We want to be the most prepared coming into every one.
Well, Boise State right now atop the Mountain West at 3-0. I know you've got to be happy, Doc. We'll see if Colorado State can hold serve and if the Broncos can move into next week either atop the standings by themselves or with some company. But great 2-0 victory. I know you're going to be happy. It's a great late birthday present for you.
Absolutely.
Well, that will wrap everything up here. Doc's happy. We're all happy. Boise State undefeated on the day, taking down Colorado State in some fantastic Call of Duty. Cannot wait to see that team get into a regular season game. And then, of course, in League of Legends, Boise State showing up and being the Broncos team that we expected. Well, that will wrap everything for us up here today. Cannot wait to see how the Broncos do next week in their whole host of tournaments across a wide variety of games. But until next time, have a great evening.